Are you looking for ways to level up your self-care game? Are you ready to live your best life? If so, you're in the right place. I want to share an overview of a customizable self-care plan I've crafted, and I'm convinced this simple yet powerful tool will pave the way for a healthier, more satisfying, and enjoyable life in body, mind, and spirit. If we haven't met yet, I'm Greg Griffin, and I help people find hope in life and healing in relationships. I'm a board certified pastoral counselor, master certified life coach, and certified brain health professional. In my counseling practice through the years, I encountered many clients who were living life on hard mode by not taking the best care of themselves in simple and effective ways that could help them better deal with whatever was going on in their lives at the time. It seemed like I was having the same kinds of conversations over and over with a number of different clients. I thought to myself, what if I could create a simple, easy to use tool that would help my clients set their own unique direction for wellness and stay on track? Drawing from my training, experience, and research in the areas of human behavior, behavioral economics, and brain health, I crafted this easy to understand and follow tool. I am convinced that the SPEEPS Self Care Plan is your solution and will work for you or anyone else who wants something better than constantly living sleep deprived, tired and grumpy, taking meds that have undesired side effects, and finding little time to enjoy life. Let's take a look at how you can better love yourself. SPEEPS is an acronym for sleep, pray, eat, exercise, play, and serve. Here we go. I'd like to start with a simple and yet profound question. If you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of the people that you take care of? Wow, that's important. I've read a great book called Clear Thinking by Shane Paris, and he puts it this way. Without health, everything else is multiplied by zeros. I'd like to spend a few minutes in this video to help us sort through maybe some misinformation we have about what it means to take care of ourselves. Self-care is not selfish. Perhaps you've been taught that if you do something for yourself that you're certainly being irresponsible or you're not doing the most important thing you could do with your time. But the truth of the matter is self-care is not selfish. It's smart. It's responsible. Because if you don't take care of yourself, who is going to take care of the people that you take care of? I love this quote. It's been attributed to several people, and I'm sure many of us may have thought this through the years. If I had known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. I hope that that's not something that's a reality for you as you continue to move forward in your life. I think a great life goal is to live in such a way that there are no self-inflicted health issues. We don't get to control everything around us, and sadly, many things may happen to us that we don't like or want in the area of our health. But we can certainly do something about it by not adding anything that could be self-inflicted. Self-care is playing the long game. It's thinking about, I make this decision, and then what? And then what? And then what? Because if we can make decisions based on a longer game, we most likely will be more pleased with the outcome. Self-care is also playing the love game because it's keeping in mind those people that we love and that they love us, and we can look at ways that we can better enjoy and enhance the relationships in every moment and every day. Why is self-care so hard? Because life is full of distractions. We start out with a good plan or a good idea, a good intention, and then some things get in the way. Secondly, self-care may be hard because it's easy to adopt an I'll do it later mentality. Something pops up that may not be the most enjoyable thing that might be good for me, but I'll just do it later. And thirdly, I think perhaps the most important part of why self-care is so hard is there's an absence of a plan. I can promise you that if you do not have a plan, you will not be able to live a balanced life. Your life will be out of balance. So this entire video is largely about how do we have better brain health, because so much of what goes on in terms of caring for ourselves really starts with our brain chemistry and our brain health. So here's a thought for you. Take care of your brain, and your brain will take care of the rest. Or simply put, healthy brain, healthy decisions. So you'll notice this acronym: sleep, pray, eat, exercise, play, and serve. It's also a palindrome, which means it spells backward and forward, and I hope that makes it even easier to hang on to and to remember. For me, these are in the order of priority. Sleep is the number one priority. So let's take a look at what we can do in the area of self-care when it comes to our own sleep. We are sleeping less, and it shows. We have studies after study that points to the fact that people are getting less and less sleep every night, and some people are even glamorized, or we may even boast if that's us. Look at what I can do. I can get by on so little sleep. But notice how we explain it. I'm getting by. I would rather thrive than get by. The practical case for healthy sleep: sleep is self-evident. All we have to do to prove that to ourselves is to see how long we can stay awake before sleep finally wins out. And sleep is the rest and the key for what happens to reset us in so many physical ways while we sleep. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Sleep is the foundation for our health, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. When you sleep, your body undergoes a series of changes that enable the rest that is vital to your overall health. Here's a quote from the Sleep Foundation. Sleep allows the brain and body to slow down and to engage in processes of recovery, promoting better physical and mental performance the next day and over the long term. So what happens if we don't get enough sleep? Actually, the medical term is sleep deprivation. The lack of sleep impairs cognitive functioning. Another way of putting that is that we make poor decisions. Perhaps we have a lot of anxious thoughts excessively. A lack of sleep can affect the stress hormone levels, and that leads to irritability or mood swings. Lack of sleep can lead to poor food choices because we just don't stop and think in the long term, the long game, and so we make something that just gives us that quick sugar rush. Lack of sleep can disrupt proper metabolism, and lack of sleep weakens the immune system. All of us want to be as healthy as we can be. So I mentioned that term, clinically sleep deprived. If you get less than 6 hours sleep in a night, you are sleep deprived, whether that's what happens on an ongoing basis or whether that just happened last night. So the truth of the matter is it's either neglect or abuse in terms of what we could be doing to take care of ourselves and living our best life. Those who get less than 6 hours sleep have less blood flow to the brain. Get this, the brain is 2% of the body's weight, but uses 20% of the oxygen. So anything that decreases blood flow to the brain decreases the brain's ability to say no to something that's bad for the body. At the end of every one of these foundational segments, I want to encourage you with an action step, something measurable that you could take to help you in that particular area of self-care. So here's a simple suggestion. We usually know what time we need to get up in the morning. So if we do some math to back up how much time do I want to sleep, somewhere between 7 and 9 hours is what we understand to be healthy and optimal. That means that we need to be in bed about 15 minutes prior to that with our eyes closed and the lights out to allow us to drift into sleep to get that full amount. We all know that we have this to-do list before we go to bed. We call it time to get ready for bed. It might mean setting the alarm. It might mean making a smoothie for breakfast and sticking it in the fridge. It may mean walking the dog. So we have to factor in that time as well. So a simple measurable action step could be simply just to identify the time that I need to start getting ready for bed so I can wake up well rested the next morning. Because the truth of the matter is today began last night. What is the best sleep plan for you? It is the one that you will follow. At the end of every one of these segments, I just want to pause for a moment. If you need to stop the video, feel free to do that. And just ask yourself, make a note on paper and pen and a journal, or maybe on an app on your phone. What step will I take so that my sleep hygiene is healthier and better, and I find that I'm living my best life by contributing a restful night's sleep most nights. So the second letter in the acronym, pray. Now you may have noticed at the front of the video I introduced myself. I'm a pastoral counselor. I'm not here to tell you how to pray. I simply point out that prayer is so important for our self-care. Here are a couple of quotes that I would like to share with you. The research that has been done on prayer shows it can calm your nervous system, shutting down your fight or flight response. It can make one less reactive to negative emotions and even less angry. This I find to be fascinating. This gentleman, Dr. Andrew Newberg, actually created a field of study called neurotheology. It would be how the study and the thoughts of God interact and intertwine with our neurology. Many of you are wondering, do I believe in God? I'm not even sure God exists. My associate, Mark, doesn't believe God exists at all. I'm not sure. But what we can prove to you is that believing in God or believing that God exists is fundamentally good for you as a human being. And so when we think about prayer, I would like to just encourage you that prayer is largely two tudes. The first one is gratitude. When we spend time in gratitude, when we focus our thoughts on that for which we can be grateful for, it triggers some happy hormones, dopamine and serotonin. Those things are good for the body as the brain chemicals begin to send the impulses all through the body to the various systems, our adrenals, our nervous system, even our breathing and respiratory system. Dopamine is our brain's pleasure chemical. The more we think positive, grateful thoughts, the healthier and happy we feel. That's a quote from the research group, the Brain Balance Center. The second tude I would encourage you to think about is solitude. How many minutes do you spend alone in your own thoughts? We probably all own a set of earbuds or a set of headphones, and it's just too easy to fill our head with information or input. Simply put, solitude helps us feel better because it gives the space to just exist without the normal expectations that come from work or family or friends. Studies suggest that time alone and showing self-compassion can decrease anxiety and depressive thoughts. So the simple idea of gratitude and solitude as a base of what it means to be taking care of a prayer life could make a huge difference in how you enjoy your life and finding your best life on a day-to-day basis. So perhaps a measurable action step for you to take is to choose the optimal time of day when you can spend even just a few moments in gratitude and solitude. I'm thinking of a man I learned about from his son who was in my youth group years ago that he noted his father would go out to the car in the morning, but before he left for work, he would take a moment to read a devotional and have a word of prayer with himself before he started up the ignition to leave. So for that man, it was before work. When is the time that would most likely work for you so that when that time of day comes around, you're even looking forward to a few moments of gratitude or solitude? And I would encourage you not to require a time limit for yourself to say, I need 15 minutes to do this. Because what happens on those days, and it's going to be a lot of them, when you say, oh, I don't have 15 minutes, and then you end up spending 0 minutes. 1 minute is better than no minutes. So what's the best pray plan? It's the one you'll follow. And I'm sure as you're watching this, you're beginning to see a predictable pattern about the plan that you can create. It's the one that works best for you. So again, I reach a point where you may want to pause the video and make a few notes about what works for you so that you feel like you can incorporate the basis of prayer, that is solitude and gratitude, into your life. What are some steps that you could take? If you write down one measurable action step, you're beginning to craft your SPEEPS Self Care Plan. The third letter in the acronym is to eat. And so much of what goes on in our bodies is because of what we feed ourselves, from food and drink and thoughts even. So medically speaking, we understand that the gut is the second brain. Maybe you've heard the term gut biome. It's a phrase that's come about in more common everyday conversations because of social media and people understanding more and more the connection between the way the brain works and the way the gut works. Sometimes what we eat can affect how we think. Sometimes how we think can affect what happens with the food we've already eaten. There's a very close connection. The common denominator in any healthy eating plan is to minimize the extra added sugar that's been put into our foods. Every food that you eat that's processed will have a label. That's not necessarily bad news. It just means that we need to pay attention because it has been put together for our consumption, and we can check to be sure what may have been added that could easily slide in without us even noticing. The research on rats has found that sugar is more addictive than opioid drugs like cocaine. Wow, that's pretty powerful. And that there can be withdrawal symptoms such as depression and behavioral problems when people try cutting out sugar completely. Most of us probably know what we shouldn't eat, but do we know what we really should eat? I'd like to offer 3 suggestions to get you started. The first is a plan called Mishi's Ladder. And so you can Google up Mishi's Ladder and you can find more information that I'll share right here. It's the beginning of a framework to begin to look at groups of foods that would be better for you to eat than others. So here's the first tier, the top tier, in terms of foods that would be optimal for us in terms of the way our body digests the food and uses it for fuel. And so you can see it's an A to Z list. And there are a lot of foods on there, some of which you probably are already eating. And maybe there are some there that you said, I can try that. Maybe if I add more of that into my diet, it will actually help me uh, feel better in the gut and in the brain. So here's the second tier of Mishi's Ladder. And you'll see another A to Z list of other foods that are very healthy and good for us. And simply put, if we could find the plan to eat from tier 1 and tier 2, we have lots and lots of choices and would eliminate an awful lot of foods that may work against us or are not the best for us to consume. The second eat plan to consider is if you have issues with the gut, like so many people do these days, is to consider the FODMAP plan. So the FODMAP plan is really just a way of identifying foods to eliminate. It's not a diet to stay on consistently. But FODMAP is simply an acronym for the sugars that we should avoid. Fermentable sugars, oligosaccharides, I can't say that word, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyol sweeteners. And so the way this works simply is to look at the foods. We eliminate all the foods that have those sugars in them. You can find lots of apps today that can tell you what is in that food, the FODMAP apps. And so you would start by eliminating all of those foods. And then as you can, you would add one in and see how your body responds. And by this simple process of elimination and addition, over time, you might be able to identify foods that you didn't think were working against you, but were really causing a lot of issues. So again, these are just some sugars that we would want to try to take a look at and eliminate if they're causing issues within our gut biome and our bloodstream. A third eat option that I would suggest to you is called the Daniel Plan. This is crafted from a historic figure in the Old Testament by the name of Daniel. He and his friends were held captive, and they bargained with their captors that if they could just eat healthier foods that weren't being served to them, that would be an agreeable solution. And what happened after a few weeks is that the captors could see that these young men were healthier by eating more plants and other kinds of things than were being served even to the royal guard. So if you look at the Daniel Plan, basically 3 groups of foods. So we would want about 50% of the diet to come from non-starchy vegetables, about 25% from lean proteins, and the last 25% from grains and nuts and berries and seeds and oils and spices and fruits. And so there's a lot of information out there on the web about the Daniel Plan. So that might be something that you would like to explore as a way of looking at your eating habits and coming up with solutions that could work better for you. So a measurable action step for you in this area of eat. One I would encourage you to take on, regardless of what other action steps you may have, is to simply read the label. If you put food mindlessly in your cart, you might want to take a moment and look at those labels because there may be a very similar food. Like let's take tomato sauce, for instance. You might find a tomato sauce that's healthier for you based on the amount of sugar that's in one versus the other. So that's a simple solution to read the labels and pay attention to what you're going to eat. Another great solution is to simply plan on consuming a half an ounce of water for every pound of body weight. Our bodies, we understand, are mostly water anyway, and this is designed to keep ourselves working smoothly and having the bloodstream and the digestive tract work as it's intended. What is the best eat plan? You can probably say the answer with me together by now, the one that you will follow. And so I'd like to invite you to pause the video again at this point if you'd like and make a note or two, reflect on a step that you could take that would be part of your Eat Self-Care Plan. The fourth letter in the acronym, sleep, pray, eat, exercise. I saw a comedian once who said, I'll do most anything to be healthy except diet and exercise. I think we can all relate to that because sometimes it's much easier said than done. But in the area of exercise, it has so many benefits for us in terms of us taking care of ourselves. In fact, we've been able to clinically prove that sleep and exercise are our two cheapest antidepressants. That's good news. Anything that can help keep me in a good mood, I'm interested in learning about it. The CDC says no matter your age or fitness level, any amount of physical activity can help improve sleep, brain health, and quality of life. Let's look at some benefits of exercise. Exercise is good for muscles and bone and brain. Exercise improves our cognitive health, helping us to think, learn, and problem solve, and even remember. It helps with weight management. Exercise reduces anxiety and depression. Exercise reduces the risk of chronic diseases. Exercise helps manage blood sugar and insulin levels. Exercise increases energy. Maybe you've had that experience of not feeling like doing something active, and yet you push yourself to do it and you actually feel more energetic when you finish. Exercise improves the sleep quality. It strengthens our immune system, and exercise improves our sexual health. I like this simple phrase from a medical doctor that I researched. He says, move. Just simply act and walk like you're late. If you just think about where you could park, maybe a little further away from the front door of that business or that store you're going to when the weather's nice, and just walk like you're late. We all know that it's so hard to fit these kinds of pieces together in our self-care plan puzzle. And for exercise, it might get squeezed out. But if we can, if nothing else, say what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk like I'm late today. And that's going to help your brain. That's going to help your body. And you're going to live a better life because you're making a simple, effective choice. What's a measurable action step to take in this area of exercise for you? I would encourage you to decide what you want to do. It does not have to be the exercise that your spouse has. It does not have to be the exercise that your friends have. It could be dance. It could be jazzercise. It could be running. It could be walking. It could be taking the dog out on a quick walk. It could be most anything, jumping rope. Find what you like to do. Find something that you're willing to do. And then secondly, identify the time of day that you're most likely to get that exercise in. And like the area of pray, I would encourage you not to put a time limit on it. To just say, this is the window of time I'm going to exercise. Some days I may have more time than others, but that will fit that into your customizable crafting self-plan that you're creating for yourself. What is the best exercise plan? It is the one that you will follow. So again, at this point, I invite you to stop the video to make a few notes about what are some exercise steps you can take that would help you to be able to say, I'm someone who exercises most days. The last letter in the next to last letter in our acronym: sleep, pray, eat, exercise, play. Now, this one might be a surprise to you that it's in a self-care plan because maybe it's another way you've been misinformed that play is irresponsible as an adult or play is wasted time. It's quite the opposite. I like this quote from George Bernard Shaw. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And simply put, exercise is great for us, and play is great for us, I should say. Play is serving yourself. If you think about something that you like to do, that when you finish, you say to yourself, I'm glad I did that. That's probably a good sign of something that feeds your spirit, that nourishes you. It could be cross stitch, it could be a crossword, it could be CrossFit, but something that you do that's fun for you. It doesn't have to be physically active. It could be something like making time to look at funny animal videos just for a few minutes every day. What is it that you enjoy doing that's play? You could do it by yourself or you could do it with others. Here's some benefits of adult play that I want to share with you. Play relieves stress. Play improves brain function. Play helps stimulate the mind and boost creativity. Play improves relationships and your connection with other people. And play helps keep you feeling young and energetic. So what's a measurable action step that you can take in this area of play? I would encourage you to block some time on your calendar. Maybe you have to go out a couple of weeks or a week ahead of time, but block some time that you say, this is when I'm going to play. And then you're going to have to defend it vigilantly because there are going to be lots of demands on your time and energy. Like I mentioned at the front, self-care is so hard because there's so many distractions. But if you can block out that time that says to yourself, this is when I'm going to play, you don't have to tell the whole world, what are you doing? I'm sorry, I'm just not available right now. And then go do what feeds your spirit. Go do what nourishes your soul. What's the best play plan? The one that you will follow. And so again, I invite you to pause the video if you like and make a note of something that you could add to your play plan. I suggest to you, what's something that you love to do that you haven't done in a long time? That could be a way to coming up with the next step for you for your play plan. The last letter in this acronym palindrome about self-care: sleep, pray, eat, exercise, play, and serve. Serving is a good thing for us, as we're going to take a look at in a minute, but it is the last among the six because for so many of us, this is the one that robs the other five. We may be too busy doing too much for other people at the expense of taking care of ourselves. Doing something for someone else combats our selfishness. If we have it baked into our day, or if there are people in our family, or there's that person I can reach out to, it will combat our very basic human way of thinking, which is me first. There's a term called helper's high, and it's a real thing. Volunteering and charitable giving help ease stress, improving physical and emotional health by strengthening immune system activity, decreasing intensity and awareness of our own physical pain, activating positive emotions that support well-being, and reducing negative attitudes that deplete well-being, enhancing functions of various body systems. What is the best serve plan? It is the one that you will do. Maybe you have a heart for animals. Maybe you have a heart for senior adults. Maybe you have a soft spot for that family next door. Maybe it's a place that you love to show up seasonally to help with a particular need that arises for a particular group of people. But volunteering and serving is good for us. It is good in a double win sort of way for those that we serve. So again, I invite you to pause the video at this point to make a note of what it is that you might do in this area of serve. If you've been paying attention, you see that there's a lot of overlap in the benefits of each one of these areas. Sleep, pray, eat, exercise, play, and serve. It's all connected. It's all connected because of our brain. It's all connected because of our body systems. And so when we recognize that some of the things that are benefits of sleep are the same sorts of things that are benefits of play, everything is interconnected. When we make an improvement in one area, it raises our self-care game. When we make an area of adjustment in two areas, we become more and more like the person we want to be, living our best life. So I just encourage you that you can start anywhere you want with any one of these six, but start somewhere. And as you start, you'll find that you're beginning to treat your brain with more care and more protection, and that's going to turn into healthier decisions and a more enjoyable, satisfying, and better life. The SPEEPS Self Care Plan, it will pave the way for a more healthy, satisfying, and enjoyable life in body, mind, and spirit. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope that this has given you a start to take this simple acronym that you can use 6 fingers to just check and see how you're doing. How am I doing today? And then you begin to think, well, you know what? I didn't eat the healthiest lunch. Let me be more careful when it comes to dinner. Or I haven't found much time this week to do something for me. I'm going to block out time to go hit a bucket of golf balls. Whatever it is that works for you, I just encourage you to take this plan. It's simple, it's easy, it's customizable. It is the one that you will follow. Now, before we go, if you're interested in more, you ready for more? Then I'd like to share with you a resource that I've created. It's called the SPEEPS Self Care Plan Workbook. And as you can see, there's lots of good information. It goes on a much deeper dive into what we've just scratched the surface on today. And I would encourage you to think about getting that book. It's just a simple investment of less than $30. You can order it here on the website. And I would just encourage you to take a serious look at what you can do, because if we just gather information and move on without action, it's just lovely ideas. So the book was put together largely from research, behavioral economics, as I mentioned, and brain health. And I just think it's a great gift that you can give to yourself. And if you're really ready to take it up to the next level, I'm available to help coach you through the SPEEPS Self-Care Plan and walk you through this workbook step by step. Your life is worth it. You are a good, good gift. Treat yourself well. Live your best life. Love yourself. Thanks for tuning in, and you can drop comments below if you're looking at this in YouTube, or you can reach me by the contact form on the web page that I've got here, speeps365.com. I'm Greg Griffin. To your life and to your best life, I encourage you. Blessings.